Okay, today we are in the Naugatuck State Forest. This map will give you an idea where we are. We'll be starting out and hiking from the west side of the forest. That's your left on the map. Today I have my little partner, Sadie, otherwise known as my new petite drone, flying over Seymour Reservoir number 4, which is now part of the Naugatuck State Forest here in northern New Haven County, in the great state of Connecticut, otherwise known for its high taxes and great pizza. There are 4 former reservoirs in the park, and we'll fly over the 3 northern ones. The 4th is smaller and just a little to the south. I didn't quite catch it. This parcel of land was recently added to the state forest system, and the forest now spans about 4,000 acres from Oxford across the Naugatuck River to Route 63 in Beacon Falls and Naugatuck. It's a beautiful, heavily wooded forest with a mix of evergreens and deciduous trees of all kinds. Some of the land had been farmland and pasture from colonial times. However, there are also amazingly rocky hills and valleys that have always prevented much of this land from being developed as farmland. Connecticut was heavily forested, like you see here, when the English colonists first came here in the early 1600s. But by 1900, only about 20% of Connecticut was still forest land. And that's only because that land was too rocky and was impossible to farm. But since we started using oil and coal to heat our homes and farming in Connecticut became less economical and our farmers basically moved west, our forests have been allowed to regrow. Now, at least 80% of the land is forest. Of course, suburban sprawl is cutting into that, but we still have great forests like here in the Naugatuck State Forest. We should encourage our youth to tear themselves away from their video games and get out and go hiking and fishing and boating and even hunting and enjoy the great outdoors. And here you can see reservoirs 3 and 2 to the south. There is parking down there also, and you can boat and fish and hike around those lakes also. And there's reservoir 1 just beyond the trees of that last reservoir there. You can't really see it very well from here. In the middle distance, south of the state forest, is Woodland High School. Now we'll swing north a little, then head east once we get, we're not going to go over the power lines, but once I get over the power lines and we cross, we'll be crossing the ridge over which we will see Route 8 as it winds its way through the forest alongside the Naugatuck River in the valley down below there. In the distance beyond this ridge line, you actually are looking at the other side of the river and the other side of the state forest. And here we're going to swing right over this ridge here and work our way down. I have to go a little bit lower because I was getting too high a wind, and it was complaining that I may not make it back. My little Sadie's kind of a small drone, and she gets sensitive when the winds get more than like 10 or 15 miles an hour. Down below you can see Connecticut Route 8 that follows the Naugatuck River through the forest with its northbound and southbound lanes winding around the steeply sloping hills. And due south through that valley there is where Seymour, just a few miles away. And here we got the reservoirs. As we're swinging around, just get a little view to the west here as we go. And those are the power lines that go alongside the south side of that big reservoir there. That's what I was wondering before. And we're swinging north, just get an idea of how wooded it is here. This forest is really a forest. Not quite primordial, but quite a forest. Now we're coming down into the valley. Again, the high winds prevented me from going too far, and I was getting GPS signal loss, even though this wasn't actually too far from where I was. So I'm just kind of giving you a quick overview of the valley down below. You got Route 8 going north up that way. I lost my drone right up there. And that's Beacon Falls right there, the town of Beacon Falls, the downtown area. And that's south on Route 8. And we're swinging west, just getting a view of what the hills look like and so forth. And now we're heading back home, so to speak, back over the ridge line, and swinging up. Again, this is a beautiful forest, great many hiking trails. We'll talk about those in a few minutes here. What I'm planning to do is I'll take a hike up to the top of the ridge so I could have Sadie fly down into the valley. So now I'm going to take a little hike into the woods and show you a little bit about the woods and what they were like. Okay, here we are on the western end of the Naugatuck State Forest. This is This is Chestnut Tree Hill Road. We're in Oxford. And this is the entrance here. It's pretty rugged. Parking is limited and it gets busy on weekends. If you come on the weekend, you have to get here early, otherwise you would have to park on the street, which I guess you could do, but I really don't recommend it. And then the entrance to the park is up this path. Okay, you're not allowed to have any fires, no camping, no swimming, which I can understand, because if you walk in this forest, it is filled with dead wood. If we ever have a really dry season, we could have a major forest fire here. I'm warning the state of Connecticut now. But it's a beautiful forest to walk into otherwise. So this is the path, and the lake is over to your left here. This is Seymour Reservoir number 4. There are 3 reservoirs here, I believe. This is the northernmost reservoir. And I don't know if you see those trees over there, straight ahead, that were all torn up. A few years ago, the tornado struck and it hit there. And I don't know if it went through the water, but it landed also, and we're going to look at it over there on the other side of the lake. We're going to take a look at that. When the tornado struck, it landed, again, it might have gone across the water, but it definitely hit this side of the lake, the eastern side of this lake. You can see the trees that are damaged, just kind of struck right here, and then it bounced. It struck again a couple hundred yards further into the woods. Okay, this is where the tornado landed. And I have a video from up above also, so we'll take a look at that from my drone. Good old Sadie, her first foray into the life of dronism. So here I actually had Sadie fly over this area on the east side of reservoir number 4, just to give you an idea of what it looks like from up above. The tornado just kind of slammed down and jumped. It was funny. I guess it happens all the time with tornadoes. We're not used to getting them around here in Connecticut. So these paths are pretty good. They're old tow roads, very wide. Even in the summer, I don't think you have to worry too much about ticks as long as you stay on the road themselves. And these trails, you could take this trail actually all the way into Naugatuck if you want. It's a little windy. You have to take this trail, that trail to get to it, but I've done it. Part of one of the trails ends up on Hunter Mountain Road, which is north of here, which is at the moment this was a tornado, because right in here, if we can't get in there right now, don't have the proper equipment or boots. That was done by the tornado. This used to have trees right here, and then it went up over that hill right there toward Bethany. I'm up onto these here. This is overgrown since the storm a few years ago. All these small bushes and trees are growing up, and they're replacing the trees that were torn down. It's happening pretty quickly. Another 10 years, you won't even know that there was a tornado that struck here. Okay, well, I'm looking down the road that I just came up, and if anybody actually comes this far, I'm walking up along this little valley now. There's a very rocky ridge to my left and even to my right, and that path goes north toward Naugatuck, and there's another path here that swings up the side of this ridge and heads toward Beacon Falls. And the other side of this bridge you have Route 8 highway and the Naugatuck State Forest cut through of the highway and the Naugatuck River. Okay, I'm still on the side of this ridge, but I just noticed that there's a nice clearing here on a rock that might be bedrock, or it might be just, again, a big boulder, but I have a feeling it's bedrock. It'll be perfect for taking my drone off around here carefully, because I want to fly down to the river, and I think I'll be able to do it from here. And you can see there's a nice opening in the sky, which is good. And otherwise. Well, let's get Sadie out. Okay, here's Sadie. As you can see, my new drone. She's getting ready to take off. We're in the state forest. And let me turn the camera on. And I'm going to do takeoff here.
Takeoff. Low point has been updated. Please check it on the map.
I was ecstatic when I successfully landed Sadie in the forest. I had to find the hole in the canopy from where I set her off. I didn't want to use the return to home function because the canopy was so narrow and I didn't want to risk hitting a tree. So I'm walking out of the forest down the trail and I come across this. I'm thinking, did somebody leave a plastic flower here in the middle of the woods? No. It's a real flower. I'm asking myself, where the heck did that come from? I never saw anything like that. So, anybody recognize it? Now, I'm looking up. Right nearby, I don't see any flowering plants. I see mountain laurel. I see an oak tree. Some ash. I'm looking up in the canopy. And I think I see something way up ahead, way up there. Could be yellow flowers. I wish I could get my drone up there to look. What kind of tree is that? Looks like that's a maple tree. Nothing of flowers on that. I don't see any source for this flower. It has to be coming from a tree. I don't see it. There is an app on my phone that I could ask what it is. It might tell me. Okay, this is coming out of the woods, looking at the trees that were damaged by the tornado, that section there. And the lake is just on the other side of it. This path, by the way, sort of goes up alongside the lake. So you can take that. It's a nice path. There is fishing allowed on the lake. I see ice fishing in the wintertime also. Okay. Getting close to sunset. Looking west. I hope you enjoyed this short introduction to the Oxford parcel of the Naugatuck State Forest. If so, please check out my other videos, and another fine hike is in Seymour's Little Laurel Ridge Park, overlooking the Housatonic River. And please subscribe if you enjoy my videos, and hit that notification bell also. Thank you.